reference to the Angel City Classic, which is a football event that's going to be taking place, but the focus of the football event itself is really not so much about the game. Isn't it really more about exposing individuals to black colleges?
Absolutely. It's exactly what Admiral Brewer was talking about, what you hinted to. Not enough youth out here in Los Angeles are exposed to these schools. And it's important for a Morehouse to come out here. If an individual has never heard of a Morehouse, if a young African-American male has never heard of Morehouse, they should know that Morehouse has graduated more or put more degrees on African-American males than any other institution in the world. I'm not talking about in Atlanta or in Georgia, in the entire world. That is what Morehouse does. If you're an African-American male sitting in LA thinking, you know, my chances are slim, I'm probably going to get shot going to school, you know, my teachers don't care, I should just drop out, you know what? Focus on Morehouse. Morehouse wants you to graduate, and they are proven to graduate individuals. So that is what we do. The Angel City Classic exposes individuals to these schools, allows them to get a taste of the environment. You can't you know, assimilate the entire place, but you can give them a taste. You can't give them the battle of bands. You can't give them, you know, football players. You can't give them the drill team. You can't give them, but the common denominator is that all these kids are in school. They're now, positive role models, and they're continuing their education. What's
interesting about what you just talked about is that you mentioned bands and the drums and the cheerleaders and all of that. Bernard Kinsey, you actually are an avid art collector, and you just recently featured your art exhibit at the Norton in Miami. And when you featured that exhibit, you actually brought the Florida A&M Band in to really showcase them. Tell us about that.
Well, the Florida A&M Band, anywhere they go, you know, the 100 played behind Kanye West and Jamie Foxx at the Grammys.
Now, just so folks know, the 100 stands for?
The Florida A&M Band. Okay. And also played behind Prince in Purple Rain at the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it's clear. I mean, matter of fact, in 1963, we were the first band on television. You follow me? Period. You understand? That's when they didn't have commercials at halftime because the 100 wouldn't play if you had commercials. So, but let me run another little track on you. Florida A&M graduates 1,352 black folks. The largest historically black college in the country, graduates more black folks than any school in the country. That includes the Pac-10, the Big Ten, and all of the Ivy League schools. So here's what I tell all my brothers and sisters that talk about Harvard and all that. Yeah, go there, but that ain't enough. In other words, we cannot fulfill what we need in our communities if everybody tried to go into the ones and twos in these historically white colleges. So
but that's where most of the African Americans are going to college.
Yeah,
they're going to college.
They are, but but look at me. But there are 3,200 schools in the country. Let's put this in perspective. There are 3,200 colleges, 110 black folks. You follow me? And we graduate a disproportionate share of black people going to college because black people are not graduating from many of these white schools.
And why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of them are disaffected, first of all. You follow me? It is not education. It's not SAT scores because they couldn't get in unless it was. So I think this nurturing environments and all of that is part of it. But let me go back to FAMU. The number one school in terms of black teachers in the country. 20% of the black pharmacists in this country come out of FAMU, PhDs in physics and math. So what I like to say is that the Hamptons, the Prairie Views, the Morehouse, we specialize. Xavier, they have more graduates from Xavier going off and becoming doctors than any school in the country. You follow me? What if we didn't have Xavier? Nobody's asking Brandeis to close their schools. Nobody's asking Holy Cross to close theirs. So don't be asking us to close ours.
What you raise an interesting point because a lot of these schools are in fact closing, and a lot of it has to do with dwindling enrollment. In fact, from what I understand, more of these schools are recruiting Latinos just to keep their doors open. Given that we have a huge Latino population here, Superintendent Brewer, have you seen the effects of students in Los Angeles being actually targeted and geared towards these black institutions?
Oh, absolutely. Prairie View is in Texas, and so in essence there's a natural relationship with the Latino community. In fact, one of the things I'm telling the President Wright when he comes out here from Prairie View is to not only look at African Americans but also look at Latinos. You also have to look at the fact that black colleges have to stay in business.
Right.
Exactly. And the only way you're going to stay in business is to have higher enrollment. So you got to have more students. So in essence, if you don't have more students, you can't stay in business. Now, I had Latino classmates when I was at Prairie View. Now, Prairie View has also grown dramatically. Prairie View has a great medical program. They have a medical academy. And when you finish that medical academy, you are automatically accepted into medical school. We average number 1, 2, or 3 in the number of black engineers that graduate in this country at any given time between Howard, North Carolina A&T, Prairie View, and Morgan State.
Now, are these students, in your view, embraced? I know that there was a lot of discussion in the last few months about a gentleman, Josh Packwood, who was the valedictorian at Morehouse College, first white valedictorian in the 141-year history of the institution. And many people were saying, well, what is it saying about the state of these black colleges when you have non-blacks doing so well?
Well, so what?
How would you respond
So
to
what?
that?
I mean, you know what we have to do, and I'll tell you what, the election of Barack Obama is going to do 2 things. Whether he wins or not, I'm obviously wanting him to win. But we got to start thinking about our community more in a very much more diverse way. You follow me? And we've bifurcated this community. Most of our conversation is talking about the people that don't have, and what we need to start talking about is this whole community. We have some tremendous successes in our community, but all the focus is on what people don't have. And I think we got to change that, and I think Barack's election is going to force us to deal with that.
How so? I mean, what exactly do you see Barack symbolizing?
Well, but just because of what he represents. But let's look at this, going back to Admiral Brewer's comment. If you start thinking about the Latinos and whites, Lincoln University in Missouri is almost half white now. Why? Because it was a quality school that looked for enrollment, had good price points, and people went. And that's true in almost all the state black colleges, HBCUs in the South. The price point, quality education is up here. So if people are smart, white, black, blue, Latino, doesn't matter, they're going to go. And they are integrated, so why not? So I think it's positive. I think it helps keep the standards, and it keeps a lot of these schools open.
John Fleming, your focus on getting more students to go to black colleges, where does that come from?
That comes from a passion of educating our community. You know, it's really important. I think that's a testament actually to these schools and what they do. Disproportionately, these schools are a community, and they make sure that everybody within the community, if you think about historically, our neighborhoods, it doesn't matter what that kid looked like. It was our neighborhood, and we made sure that kid was protected. That's the same thing that these universities do. And so disproportionately so amongst other, major universities, talking about, you mentioned Pac-10, you mentioned all these, big conferences, our universities are still holding true to the goal of supporting who is in that community and who their neighbor is. So that's why, it's so important for us to, show that, and that's a passion of mine. And we want to make sure that we open those doors and we embrace that community and tell them, hey, this is here for you, this is what we want to give to you, and we're going to make sure that you succeed if you go here.